Good day everyone, this is Enraged Eggplant and welcome to Dungeons and GURPS. In this video I will tell you about how to make D&D elves in GURPS. GURPS already has several different elf racial templates spread across multiple books. However, they all can be found in the recently released GURPS Fantasy Folk Elves. But GURPS elves and D&D elves are not the same. So I suggest you make your own templates if you are not satisfied with the existing ones. Before I delve into the elven specifics, let's discuss what you should be concerned about when creating any racial template, particularly the ones that are intended for player characters. First, the template should be affordable. I strongly recommend trying to have your racial template cost be no more than 30 points, with some powerful races being up to 60 points. Alas, sometimes there is no way to achieve that. Second, you should separate racial and developed traits to avoid bloating the template and inflating its cost. For example, if you want your race to have an innate psionic ability, give it both the ability and the controlling skill at the lowest possible level. This will represent the very basic innate ability that is then developed into something more powerful as the character grows. Note that sometimes it isn't very appropriate for some abilities. For example, an innately telepathic race probably should have telepathy that has range, not the lowest level that requires skin-to-skin contact. Third, you should avoid adding traits that lock your character into a certain archetype. For example, a magical energy reserve would be great for a wizard, but if a player picks this race and does not play a wizard, then it's just wasted points. And fourth, do not stay too close to the source material. Convert the general concept, not the exact details. If you'd like to read more about racial template creation, consider reading GURPS Template Toolkit 2 Races. When converting D&D races, sometimes it is also nice to add some advantages or disadvantages that are not represented in D&D. This is much more relevant in regards to the disadvantages, because D&D tries to give you as few penalties as possible, and if there is something negative about the race, it's usually a penalty to a stat, which isn't anything interesting. D&D has at least 20 elven subraces, and I'm not even exaggerating the number. I love variety and options, but some people call it needless bloat, and prefer to have just one or two elven subraces. However, in terms of mechanics, all the elven subraces are very similar, so feel free to give them some cool things to play with. Now let's go step by step through the creation of the High Elf racial template based on the one from the Player's Handbook. PHB gives elves +2 to dexterity and -2 to constitution. The book also says that elves are graceful but frail. So let's give them DX +1 and HT -1. They are said to be hauntingly beautiful to humans, and if humans are your reference society, then you should add, for example, attractive for 4 points. Elves reach adulthood at about 110 years of age and can live to be more than 700 years old. This roughly corresponds to extended lifespan 3. Elves have low light vision, which I usually treat as night vision 5. An elf has a +2 bonus to listen, search and spot checks, which I would translate into GURPS as a +1 bonus to perception. I find their ability to detect secret doors too gamey, but if you want to include it, you can build it with the detect advantage with a reflexive modifier. They have some racial weapon proficiency, but I think that's one of the examples of the developed traits. An elf is not born with the knowledge on how to handle rapiers and bows, he is taught it after birth. I would advise you not to include this on the racial template. Elves also get a bonus to resist enchantment effects. That could be Mind Shield, but I would just give them +1 to will. And then we have the most difficult trait to convert, their 4-hour trance instead of sleep. This is how I do it. Give them immunity to sleep effects for 5 points. mean that they cannot be put into sleep via supernatural means, such as spells or psionic abilities. Add less sleep 4 for 8 points, to represent that they still sleep but only for 4 hours, and have this being a trance instead of actual sleep be a 0-point feature. This means that the elf does not dream. He cannot be a target of dream spells, such as dream sending or dream projection. This is both a beneficial and a detrimental effect, and in both cases a very situational one. And here's the result. A bit too expensive, isn't it? What I do is remove the bonus to will and attractive. Also, I believe that by the elves being frail, the book means that they should have fewer HP, so I replace the penalty to HT with a penalty to ST, and this is how it looks. 39 points is better, right? I guess you could also remove the immunity to sleep effects or, for example, add the skinny for -5 points, if you wanted to. I leave it as is, treating it as something of an elven baseline. Even to this day I struggle with disregarding some of the racial traits that I've gotten used to, but I'm working on it. I revise my racial templates quite often, adjusting the numbers. I'll show you some other elven subraces that diverge from their source more. For example, the Grey Elves are even frailer than the High Elves, having lower ST and HT. However, they get an innate bonus to intelligence, which is a major advantage. I decided to also give them a level of slow healing. This reinforces the Grey Elven reclusiveness and cautiousness. They are very afraid of physical confrontations because they are so easy to harm. Snow Elves are much hardier. They are attuned to cold to a great degree, which gives them temperature tolerance. Their outer skin layer is crystallized, so it flakes off even from a strong handshake. This is how I justified giving them low pain threshold. The latter is a disadvantage that is not represented in D&D, so I decided that it would be an interesting racial feature. Avarials, or winged elves, are frail and skinny due to their hollow bones. Flight is a massive advantage though. They also need better eyesight to see things from above. Temperature tolerance 5 against cold and the pressure tolerant lungs perk even allow them to dwell in the clouds, where temperatures are extreme and the air is thin. I should also mention that many people house rule the age-related advantages. The common house rule is to just halve the costs, but GURPS Fantasy Folk Elves suggest simply making them free or make unaging a perk. If you are concerned about the elves accumulating hundreds of skills over the course of their lives, you should enforce the skill maintenance rules, from maintaining skills from the GURPS basic set, and learning and realism from GURPS social engineering back to school. One other thing to keep in mind is that you can vary maximum values of characteristics for different templates. This does not cost anything but allows you to differentiate the templates a bit more. And that's it for this video, and see you in the next one.